crucial meeting of the Joint Tax to appraise the 2025 appropriation budget and also to scrutinize and pass the 2026 appropriation budget. We are at a threshold of history, and Nigerians are watching and demanding results from all of us. Therefore, we have to come together, both the legislature and the executive, to work to see that we have addressed the economic challenges we presently have in our country and improve the lives of our citizens. As we come here together today, Nigerians are facing numerous challenges, and our economy is at a critical juncture. Nigerians are grappling with hardship, and there is a pressing need for effective solutions to stimulate growth, create jobs, and improve living standards of our citizens. However, as patriots, all of us, we have to summon our zeal, as hopes are not yet lost. We have to renew our people's hope, and then we have to show signs of concern to Nigerians. We have to be optimistic in transiting from this hardship to a better condition. The International Monetary Fund projects a 4.4% growth in 2026, driven by improved microeconomic stability, structural reforms, and a rebound in domestic demand. And this can only be achieved when we all come together and show commitment and patriotism in doing our jobs. The steel sector is crucial to our economy. It's the backbone of industrial growth in every economy, and so also to Nigeria. You cannot have infrastructure development without the steel sector, and it creates jobs to our citizens. Our nation's progress, in fact, depends on a thriving steel industry. That's why proper and effective budgeting is germane for this sector to grow. We must work hard, be transparent, and accountable to achieve all this. The stakes are high, and Nigerians expect results. Let's work together, one, to drive steel sector growth, to boost economic development, to create jobs, to build a stronger Nigeria. And Honorable Minister and Head of Agencies, we are ready to partner with all of you, so please let's make history.
In the 2025 executive budget proposal, a total of 8.92 billion is proposed as total expenditure for the Ministry of Steel Development. This comprises of 2.49 billion, which is 28% of the total expenditure for personnel cost, 549.4 million, which is 6% of total expenditure for overhead cost, and 5.88 billion, which is 66% of total expenditure for capital expenditure. And that brings the total to 8.924 billion. To move on to the next slide, the actual expenditure outflow for the Ministry of Steel Development, the headquarters, stood at 2.53 billion, representing 28.3% of total appropriation. So if you drill down and you look at the personnel, out of the 2.49 billion of the budget, about 2.21 billion has been released so far, which comes to 88.6%. For overhead, out of the 549 million, we've had releases of about 319 million, which is 58.1%. Then capital, out of the 5.882 billion for capital for 2025, 0% has been released and was released throughout last year up till date. If you do a weighted average of the three, it comes to 28.3% releases. So therefore, out of the 8.924 billion, about 2.53 billion has been released. Page 20 looks at the breakdown of what I've mentioned, which is the amount of funds that have been appropriated for personnel expenditure, which comes to about 88%. So page 20 talks about the personnel expenditure. Page 21 talks about overhead. Again, if you look at the overhead, what was appropriated versus what was released, if you do a weighted average, is 58.1%. And that goes from page 21 all the way to page 24 as a summary.
Strategic objective to build institutional capacity, attract critical investment, and execute the ministry's core mandate of revitalizing Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited and the National Iron Ore Mining Company. Then page 26 talks about some of the critical achievements that we have had throughout our tenure, which includes some MOUs that we've signed. We've signed an MOU with the Ministry of Defense, together with the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria, Ajaokuta Steel Company, as well as the Ministry of Steel Development, to produce military hardware, which includes helmets, vests, bullets, parts for armored tanks, and so on and so forth. Together with, we're providing them with a land to build military industrial complex to be able to improve the security situation in Nigeria, particularly in the northern enclave where most of the activities are happening. We also did the groundbreaking for 5 mini LNG plants that was done in January 2025 to the tune of $500 million. That's the total. It was led by NNPC and its private sector partners. The original MOU that was signed with the Russians for Ajaokuta revival, rehabilitation, we've encountered some headwinds, particularly because of the restrictions and sanctions on Russia. And that has made us to review and look at working with China with the blessing of Mr. President, so as to help us expedite the process of reviving the plant. The federal government has mentioned that it doesn't have money or the federal government does not have money to put into the revival project, so we have to raise private capital. We are also working to resolve the issue with the Aluminium Smelter Company of Nigeria, ALSCON, and we are also working with private sector players to encourage investments in the steel industry. So those are the key milestones that we achieved. I think the last thing, just two more things that I'll mention, is that we had the boot camp training last year, where there was a total application of about 225,000 applications, but we could only take 700 because of budgetary constraints. We also developed an in-house roadmap for a 10-year revival strategy that will allow us to produce up to 10 million metric tons of crude steel annually. So let me just stop there. That's on the 2025. 2026. The total allocation for the ministry is 5.4 billion. The total allocation for the Raw Materials Exploration Agency in Kaduna is 2.666 billion. The total for National Meteorological Development Center in Jos is 1.828 billion. For Meteorological Training Institute Onitsha is 1.03 billion. For Itakpe is 2.92223 billion. Page 30, 29. Okay, so 29. For Ajaokuta Steel Company, 6.68 billion, and then National Steel Council is 981 million. That gives us a total of 21.52 billion. If you look at the breakdown of the budget, for the headquarters, it comprises of 733 million, which is 14% of total expenditure for personnel, 10% of total expenditure for overhead, and 76% of 4.1 billion for capital expenditure. So that's the summary of the budget proposal for 2026. The subsequent pages are just a breakdown of what I've already mentioned.